Security cameras were supposed to give us answers. They record everything, every movement, every shadow, every moment that passes through a space. The footage doesn't lie. It doesn't misremember. It doesn't exaggerate. But sometimes, the footage raises more questions than it answers. What you're about to hear are 3 documented cases where security camera recordings captured something that investigators, security experts, and in some cases, law enforcement could not explain. All 3 incidents are real. The footage from each case exists. Some of you will find rational explanations for what happened. Others won't. Let's begin. The first case comes from a mid-sized hotel in Eastern Europe. The year was 2019. The hotel had recently updated its security system. New cameras, better resolution, motion-triggered recording on every floor. On the night of March 14th, the motion sensor on the 4th floor activated at 3:17 in the morning. The camera recorded exactly 42 seconds of footage before going offline. In those 42 seconds, the hallway appears empty. The corridor lights are on. Nothing moves, except for one thing. At the 11-second mark, the shadow of a person appears on the left wall of the corridor, moving slowly from room 412 toward the elevator. The shadow is clear, well-defined, and cast at an angle consistent with someone walking under the ceiling lights. There is no person casting it. The hotel's security team reviewed the footage immediately. They checked every angle. They reviewed footage from the floor above and the floor below. No guests had left their rooms. No staff were on that floor. The camera covering the other end of the hallway showed nothing. No person, no movement. Only the shadow, moving steadily and then gone. The hotel's management chose not to release the footage publicly. It was only obtained by a security researcher who had worked with the property 2 years later. His assessment quoted in a private document that later circulated online. There is no physical explanation consistent with normal shadow projection that accounts for what appears in this recording. He had no further comment. The second case is perhaps the most studied of the 3. In 2021, a warehouse facility in the American Midwest installed a full camera grid across its property. 64 cameras total, covering every square foot of the building's interior. The system was installed after a series of unexplained equipment malfunctions that had cost the company nearly $200,000 in damage. For 3 months, nothing unusual was recorded. Then, on a Tuesday night in October, 9 cameras in the northwest section of the building went dark simultaneously at 11:48 p.m. Not offline, the signal was still transmitting. The cameras were powered, but the feeds showed only static. The static lasted for exactly 4 minutes and 11 seconds. When the feeds restored, a forklift that had been parked in its designated bay, confirmed on footage recorded 1 hour earlier, had moved. It was now positioned in the center of an adjacent storage room facing the door. The key was not in the ignition. The battery had been disconnected as part of standard overnight protocol. The facility's investigation found no signs of entry, no fingerprints on the forklift beyond the regular operators, no explanation for the simultaneous camera outage. A mechanical engineer brought in to assess the situation concluded that the forklift could not have moved under its own power. To move it manually, without the battery, would have required at minimum 2 people and significant physical effort. It would have taken time that the 4-minute window, by all accounts, barely allowed. The warehouse never identified a culprit. The equipment malfunction stopped after that night and never returned. The third case is the shortest, and in many ways, the most unsettling. A residential doorbell camera in a quiet suburban neighborhood in the UK recorded a single event at 2:04 a.m. on a night in February 2023. The homeowners were asleep. No one had approached the front door all evening. The camera activated on motion detection. The footage shows the front path, the gate, and the street beyond. It is a still, windless night. No cars are passing. No animals are visible. Then, on the path directly in front of the door, a child's handprint appears in the condensation on the glass panel beside the door. Slowly, deliberately, as if being pressed from the outside. No child is visible. No person is visible. The handprint forms over approximately 3 seconds, finger by finger, and then the camera's motion detection turns off and the recording ends. The homeowners have 2 children. Both were confirmed asleep in their rooms. The glass panel is on the inside of a closed and locked storm door. The handprint was on the outside of the glass. They moved out of the property 4 months later. The footage